Welcome, one and all, from Podcast Land. We are back with yet another episode of Different Strings, a guitar adjacent podcast. Oops, I forgot the colon. I am your host, Wes, along with my good friend and co-host, Andy. Andy, say hello.
Hi.
Fantastic. Well done. We also have a guest. Andy, please introduce our guest.
Yes, from all the way from, oh my God, you can literally hear me in his room, all the way from there, Forrest. Say hi, Forrest.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Yeah, so you come on one more time and then you're no longer a guest, right? You're a guest twice and that's it.
Honorary
Oh,
co-host.
and then what am I after that?
I don't know. We'll have to make up a word.
I think that makes me editor.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, really. We don't have a topic this week, but we're going to mine some gold, guitar gold from Reddit. I do not recommend drinking any fluids during this episode because you are likely to spit take on your computer or whomever might be sitting in front of your face. But before we do that, Andy's going to tell everyone where to find us on the internet.
You know, Wes, I do this every
time.
single time. But I'm going to do it again because you asked so nicely. Please go to differentstringspodcast.gov. Thank you.
No, not .gov.
Oh,
That's for paying your taxes.
.net?
No, wait, hold on, I'll get it. .uk?
EDU?
No, we're not teaching anyone anything.
Everybody's funny.
I know. Differentstringspodcast.com, please and thank you.
There you go. And I think we can go right into the headline because I don't want to delay. I gotta get into this.
All right, yeah,
But
and we're completely off our normal schedule. We have a co-host. Like, there's all sorts of shenanigans today.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so just to give everyone a heads up on what we're actually doing, I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing called Reddit, but somehow as I was scrolling through my Reddit feed, our guitar, the subreddit for guitar, popped up as a suggested subreddit that I may be interested in. And I don't know why or how. I don't follow any other guitar related subreddits, so I clearly think my phone is spying on me.
Could be.
It is.
Yeah.
If Bezos has your address.
Yeah. But when it suggested our guitar, it posted there was a question in the suggestion, and the question was so delicious and so intriguing that I went to our guitar and I found other like just incredible questions and hot takes, and I just said this absolutely is something we need to address. There were some real serious issues going on, real serious issues being
It's not
discussed.
funny.
No, it's not funny at all.
It's not funny.
So we're going to jump into this. And Wes, what I thought we would do this week is I'm going to read these, and then I want reaction from both you and from Forrest. So I'll do the reading and you guys do the answering / reacting / spit taking. Okay.
Wait, we just said this isn't going to be funny.
No,
It's
won't
not
be.
funny. It's
Okay.
not funny.
No.
Let's be adults.
Okay. And we're starting right out of the gate, and I'm gonna go out of order here. Trying guitars in a store. Hi, quick post. I am currently in a store and I'm too shy to try a guitar out. What are some do's and don'ts? Wes, Forrest.
Yeah, that's not funny.
Not funny.
I think
first thing you're going to want to do is play Wonderwall.
Okay, that was funny.
That'll get everybody to like you for sure.
The new stairway to heaven is Wonderwall.
That's hard. That's hard because some people do have fairly crippling social phobias that prevent them from approaching somebody or talking to somebody in public that they don't know. My suggestion in that case, well, it's too late because you're currently in the store. So my suggestion is go home, call a friend,
regroup.
Yeah, regroup, call a friend, get together, have you and your friend go, and then have your friend run interference, because I think trying out guitars in the guitar store is one of the rites of passage that we all have to engage in. Plus, how do you know if you're even going to remotely like the guitar unless you try it out? And if you're
Right.
too cripplingly shy to even ask to play it, you need somebody. It makes me think of, I know this is completely off topic, but that show, The Big Bang Theory, and the character Raj at the beginning can't talk to
Yeah,
women.
equally as unfunny.
Yeah. But
Oh,
he can't talk to women. So he talks to Howard, and Howard
Hmm.
says what he says.
Yeah.
If
right.
you got to do that, as goofy as it might seem, do that. Because the
Hmm.
important thing is playing the guitar.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Now, Forrest, say you have conquered your shyness, this phobia, and now you're actually capable of playing the test guitar. What are these riffs slash songs that you absolutely must play as a rite of passage as soon as you pick it up? And by the way, top volume. It must be so loud that no one in the store can hear what they're doing or what they're saying.
Right.
Right.
What you want to do in a guitar store is establish dominance over the other patrons.
Alpha
Um,
guitarist.
yeah, you really want to, make it concrete that you're there and you're definitely the best person that they've ever seen in the
The
store.
the
And you want
Sigma
to let
as
them
a
know that.
yeah,
Yeah, you want
this
to be the Sigma of Guitar Center. Um, well, me personally, like I still have that shyness when I go in. Um, and it has nothing to do with my playing. It's just I just have social anxiety. So I'll ask my girlfriend and be like, "Hey, can you like go ask him for like a cable or like a pick?" Um, and she'll be like, "Yeah." And it's like I know that if I asked a Guitar Center employee or any music store employee for, "Hey, you have a pick? Hey, you have a cable?" Like whatever, they'll be like, "Yeah, obviously," and they just give it to me done and done. It's not because I'm afraid of the rejection. I'm just afraid of the interaction
Yeah.
itself.
no.
Yeah.
But
And by
say
the
I
way,
got over that.
subtle flex, by the way, asking your girlfriend because
Asking, yeah, no,
subtle flex
yeah,
there.
I actually got one. Wow. So if I were to get over that and I got the guitar in my hands and now I'm playing, what would I play?
Yeah.
Um, I would start with a clean tone, low volume, but I can hear it warm up just to get my fingers like ready. Because the last thing you want to do is crank that volume up on the amp and on the guitar, put on your, high gain tone and just like start going without
Yeah.
any
And then
practice or
play
any,
something wrong and
yeah,
sloppy.
exactly. Because that's annoying. Because I heard I heard a little while ago playing through distortion is kind of like a double-edged sword because if you play really well, it sounds awesome. If you play really badly, it sounds really, really bad, like a thousand
Yeah.
times worse than it would
Yeah.
if it was clean.
Do you
So I'd probably start with something clean.
do you tune the guitar first?
Yes, and you will need to tune that guitar first because it has likely been sitting there um since the 1940s. No, but at least for a couple months at least, it's probably been up there. You will need to
All right.
tune it.
So what I've heard so far is probably maybe tune it and then immediately
Mhm.
enter Sandman intro riff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I
Well,
was thinking.
honestly, that wouldn't be bad.
Okay.
You use
And
multiple strings, can check your intonation.
but if you're over 40, Sweet Home Alabama intro riff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's valid
Okay.
Yeah, but only on a telly.
with high
Oh,
gain.
with
With
high
high gain.
No. All right.
Play through a 5150.
All right. All right. So that one we've covered. And now I'm going to switch gears to something a little funnier.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that wasn't funny.
No, serious mental health issue. Um, I've got a day job that's not too stressful, leaving me with 2 to 4 hours each evening to play guitar. Lately, I've been feeling down about my music contribution, labeling myself a weekend warrior. He quoted, not me, because I can't practice full time. Anyone else balance a day job with musical goals or consider themselves advanced musicians despite not practicing full time?
So, Forrest, I want to ask you a question, and this is going to
Hmm.
sound like I'm baiting you,
Yeah,
but do you have a job? Because I
I do.
honestly don't know.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. About how many hours a week do you work?
That's so funny because I'm a music teacher. So, right now, My schedule is down to only one student a week. So,
Okay.
and the lessons are a half hour.
So you have one student,
I have
half
one
an
student,
hour,
but I'm usually in the store that day for
anyways.
maybe 3 hours, even
Yeah.
though the lesson's only half hour, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
get that.
But that's
but
So,
yeah,
today. Like you've had jobs in the past where you've worked
well,
20.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so a full-time job is the equivalent of 40 hours a week,
Right.
8 to 5-ish every day, Monday
hmm
through Friday. Um, but even at your level of employment, do you practice the other 17 hours of the day that you would be awake?
Um, no, as I did mention, I do have a girlfriend.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
right. No, you don't need like there's a really toxic mindset where it's like if you're not practicing right now, you're wasting time, and that's just not true. Um, I actually it was something I kind of knew but didn't put into effect until recently was that like I have other interests.
Yeah,
I have other hobbies, and if I didn't, I would go get them if I didn't, you know. And I I think just being like I have to practice, however many hours a day on guitar. I don't do that with anything else that I enjoy. I don't sit down and say, all right, I have to clock in 3 hours of video game time today, you
right.
know?
Otherwise, I can't be taken seriously as a gamer.
Right, exactly. And it's like I don't do that there. So why do I do that with my music? And I think that's because um people even that say they're not trying to do it seriously always have the subtlety of like, well, I want it to be good, you know.
Yeah,
There's the anticipation of a good outcome, but you
yeah.
really don't have that with other hobbies.
I don't
Um,
think anybody ever picks up a guitar and says to themselves, I'd like to suck at this for the next 20 years.
right,
Now, they may feel like they suck at it for the next 20 years, but that's not the goal.
right,
You have to deal with your own personal, we're always harder on ourselves than probably other people are. I
of
mean,
course.
I consider myself an advanced musician. I consider myself a semi-professional musician because I do things like I teach, I advise, I play, I write, I record, I release, I do all the things that pro musicians do. I just don't make a lot of money at it, right? I
Right,
got a full-time job, I got a part-time job. I take editing contracts throughout the year, and I still make time to play almost every day. Almost every day. Now, do I practice every day? I would say not, but I try
yeah,
to at least play the guitar a little bit
yeah,
every day. I try to do my little finger exercises that I've always done since I was 15 that
mhm,
bring me comfort and help me settle myself when I'm stressed out about whatever. I can
yeah,
sit down and run my finger exercises for 10 minutes. And it's the same to me as meditation is for like a Zen monk.
right,
That is my centering time. And then I might sit down and I might play a couple songs that I'm working on. I might play a couple songs that I like. I might throw on uh AC/DC and play along with a couple songs. All of that, anytime you've got the instrument in your hand, you are practicing, whether it feels like you're practicing or not, because every minute you spend with a guitar in your hands, you're becoming more familiar with the instrument and you're gaining proficiency, even if you're not sitting, I must practice. Now, I had a point in my life when I was studying classical guitar and I was chasing grades from hard-assed instructors. And yeah, I practiced 3-4 hours a day because at the end of the week or the end of the month, I had a jury or a concert and I was going to be judged on my output by people who could make a determination on whether or not I got to stay in the school,
yeah.
you know.
I
But for the stuff that I've done literally ever since then, and that was a high stress environment, I just play. I love to play guitar. So even when I'm practicing, to me, it doesn't feel like practicing. It feels like the fun part of my day where I get to enjoy something that I love to do.
I kind of like
Yeah.
I kind of liken it to sports. And, you know, there's professionals and there's amateurs, and then there's people that play sports on weekends for fun.
Yeah.
And I I would say this person is, or he's labeled himself a weekend warrior. So I would say he's in the amateur camp. He's not getting paid to play music, or maybe he's being paid to play just on weekends or what have you. But he's not like you were. You had a specific, like when you were in your class, you had a specific goal to, you had a certain bar to hit, and you were being judged and graded based on your performance.
Yeah.
And because you had a goal and you had to hit that, you had to put the time in. So I look at that as like that was almost like a professional sport for you at that time. Professional professional athletes train much harder,
Yeah, exactly.
than amateurs do when they just want to, pick have a pickup game on the weekend. So, but my point in all that is, like, it's okay to not treat yourself like you're a professional if you only have time to be an amateur or a hobbyist. If you have the
Yeah.
time to be a hobbyist, then, you know, don't feel bad that you can't put in the time, because, you don't have that time. If this was your full-time job and you were being judged or paid specifically, I'll take like a Steve Lukather. There's a studio guy. He has to be at a certain level
Right.
because he gets a call. He has to show up. He has to read charts. He has to lay down, the perfect solo or riff. It's not like he's got all month to do it. Like,
Right.
time is money. And then he bolts and goes. So, like, he has to play at a certain level.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's going to practice at that level. That's normal for him. But me,
Yep.
I'm not doing that. I want to
Yeah.
enjoy myself.
And one of the things that I have a particular twitch when it comes to the weekend warrior term, because if you don't want to feel like a weekend warrior, stop calling yourself one, and stop listening to other people if they call you one. You're a guitarist, you're a musician, just be that.
Mhm.
Right? We live in a time of growing inclusivity where we can use or abandon terms as we see fit, and use those words or ignore those words as a way to shape our view of who we are and share that with the rest of the world. So if you don't want to feel like a weekend warrior, stop calling yourself one.
Yeah. There really is like, you don't have to be like, I'm this or I'm that. Like, just be a, musician and have fun with it. Um, you say he was like feeling down about his like contribution to music. Um, and I don't think you're setting yourself up to be satisfied, with yourself. Because really, there are people that are already like long gone that have quote unquote contributed like, you know, platinum albums,
Mm-hmm.
back to back on occasion. Um, and if you're living up to that, then you're setting yourself up for failure. A lot of that stuff is right place, right time, and it doesn't sound like right now where you are, you have the time.
Yeah. And sometimes you have no control over the time. It's society that's creating the time.
Right.
If we had somebody like a Jimi Hendrix or Robert or a Jimmy Page or a Jeff Beck trying to emerge now instead of back in the 60s,
Mhm.
that person might not make any headway, you know, because,
Right.
well, for a lot of reasons, it's pure conjecture. There are so many amazing guitar players out there that you have never heard of
Yeah.
and you never will hear of. And guess what? It's okay to be one of those guys or
Yeah.
gals.
Just rock out for yourself, man.
Yeah. Start a
Like,
Yeah.
YouTube channel.
yeah, if you want, like, and if you think that you sound good, then just do that. Like, that's a great point. Like, there are so many like vastly talented musicians on the internet and in the world that have, views on YouTube that are like 100 people may have seen this in a year, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they are good at what they do. It just
Yeah.
means that people haven't seen it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. There's so much music out there, you can't ever listen to it all.
Exactly.
So if you can't listen to it all, there's no way you can play it all. And if you can't play it all, there's no reason to get down on yourself about that.
Yeah. Don't
All right. I
worry
think,
about your contribution.
yeah. Make
All
yourself
right.
happy.
Exactly. All right. Well, here's a
We
hot
hammered.
take for you. This will be interesting. Not
All right.
funny.
Hit me.
Tone is
Not
in the
funny.
fingers is the most useless
Oh,
feedback, and we should stop
oh,
saying it.
Ooh,
It
controversial.
I know. It really bothers me when people respond to questions about tone with the same old cliche. It's not that it's untrue, but it's just not helpful. When someone asks
Right.
about tone, we should focus on practical advice, like how their playing technique can impact their tone. We should discuss how tone isn't solely about gear and that throwing money at equipment won't necessarily solve tone issues. Let's offer real, substantive suggestions instead of relying on dismissive cliches.
I I think that whoever posted this, it was their first day on the internet. I
Yeah.
mean, I I actually agree with everything that person said, every single word,
Yeah.
Okay.
but that's not how life works, especially in mob settings like Reddit or the gear page or Facebook or Instagram. That's just not how it works. If you have a question, if you have a problem, if you pose a question, you are going to get shit on by 60% of the people that answer the question
You're also gonna
because
get like 20 joke answers for every actual answer.
Oh,
exactly,
funny you should
exactly.
mention that because if you click on the link to that question, the top response is tone is in the butt.
Tone is in the butt, yeah. But uh, tone is in the fingers to a certain
It
extent.
is in the butt.
It is also in the butt, but it's also in the guitar and it's in the
Right.
amp and
It's
it's
in
in the
everything.
signal chain and it's in how much time you have to practice and how efficiently you practice. I listen to recordings of myself at 16 or 18 or 20 and I cringe. Not at the playing because I wasn't a crappy player, but at the tone
Yeah.
because I just didn't know most of the things that I know now.
Hmm.
I was so proud of my first amp, my PV Bandit 112 solid
Mm.
state combo.
Ooh,
Awesome.
And the demo that my band did with me using that amp sounds terrible.
Did you ever have the phase of like where you would dial in a guitar tone just on its own and be like, all right, that sounds great, let's record it.
Yeah,
And then yeah, that
yeah.
was that was my issue for a while. Be like, well, it sounds great when I'm playing it, and then I go in the mix, I'm like, this is
That's
trash.
yeah, it's hot
so
garbage. But
so you know what?
my next band I had switched to a tube amp and the tube amp sounded better than the Bandit. Just
Hmm.
no two bones about that. Also a PV, it was a classic 50, so I stayed with the brand, but it just that jump changing amps affected my tone. I wasn't that different of a player. But when you have somebody like Brian May, right? You hear Brian May and he is instantly identifiable. If he walked into a Guitar Center and plugged any guitar into any amp and plays what he plays, somebody somewhere is going to go, is that Brian May?
Might also be because of the pick he uses.
Yeah, everything. So I'm going to name drop here. Can you handle that?
This is a safe space.
Paul Reed Smith once said to me and 200 other people, everything affects everything.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
If you if you feel like your tone is too thin, play heavier strings. See if that makes a difference. Because not only do heavier strings interrupt the magnetic field of your pickups more, thus creating more output, your playing style will have to adapt to the heavier strings. So you will play those strings differently. You will play eights differently than you play 11s. Right? So in that respect, tone is in your fingers. It's in your hands. It's in your pick. It's in your attack. One of the reasons I sound the way I sound is because I play so friggin' hard, which is I break strings. I go through picks like it's my job. My fingernails on my right hand don't grow right because I've abused them for so many years. But when I back off and I try to play something super, super chill, I don't sound like myself. And I can tell that.
So what do you think prompted? Because I sometimes when I read these, I think, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who damaged you?
What led you to this?
And yeah, and I kind of want to know, like, what did he read or what was said to him that
It's got to
prompted
be
this?
personal.
Because,
It
like,
must be a
Yeah.
personal
I have
experience.
He
never,
got triggered.
he
Yeah.
said it's the most useless feedback. And I'm trying to think, like, when would I have received a question, not just me, but anyone, where the response was tone is in the fingers? Like,
Well,
that's,
and
it's something we say, but is it something we tell other people as feedback or advice? Like, I don't know that. When would we do that?
some
I think,
people do, man.
I
yeah.
Some people
guess.
do.
And the context could be, how come this doesn't sound better? I
Hmm.
tried this and I tried this and I tried this, and it just doesn't sound the way I thought it would or the way
Hmm.
I hoped it
Sure.
would. And somebody goes, well, you're throwing gear at a problem when tone is in the fingers. I
Mm,
can see somebody saying that,
yeah.
Yeah.
and I'd be pretty janked up if
I
somebody
can.
said that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
they're
want to
basically
hear,
telling you the problem is unsolvable. Your problem is
Yeah.
yeah,
unsolvable. It's all
yeah,
you.
and the problem that they're identifying is you, and the problem is you suck,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to hear that. That's also not helpful,
It's
right?
No.
not actionable.
It's also not true. I'm like, are you telling me that if I ran, okay, if if Jimi Hendrix was in the room with me and he played something, you're telling me that if I was trying to match it, I couldn't even get a little bit closer if I used the exact same rig as him?
Right,
Like, yeah, no,
because you're not him.
yeah, it's all in the fingers is what people say. And I'm like, yeah, no, sure, you can make your you can make, your like Fender amp from 50 years ago sound like that 5150. Yeah, it's all in the fingers. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I got a lot closer if I knew what gear somebody was using. I feel like
Well,
that question must have emerged from like a personal experience where someone's like, hey, I really dig this tone on this song or whatever. Does anybody know like what gear they used, or I'm trying
yeah,
to match it and I can't get there, and that's like helpful information to know, and then people are, it's in the fingers.
yeah. And knowing somebody played a Les Paul into a JCM 800, well, that can only get you so far, right? Because Randy Rhoads played a Les Paul
I see
into
where
a
you're going with
JCM
this.
800,
Don't you do it. Don't
and
you do.
John Sykes played a Les Paul into a
God
JCM
damn.
You
800,
be careful where you
and
go with this, my friend.
they sound completely different,
Trigger me right now.
right? Not just because they're different, they play with different technique, but because they're recorded different,
Their amp settings are different,
their amp settings are different, they might have used different speakers,
different pickups on the
different
guitars.
pickups. Exactly. There's 100 things between your brain
Yeah.
and your ears coming out of your brain, what you think it's supposed to sound like, coming into your ears, what it actually sounds like, that
Hmm.
can affect your tone.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when people say, "Oh, well, tone is in the fingers," it's because they don't have anything that can
Yeah.
help you, and they can't resist the urge to chime in.
It's
Right, because
reductive.
they want to be that teacher, but they don't have the
Yeah.
Yeah,
qualifications.
It's a reductive, generalized, I don't have a better answer kind of
Yeah.
answer.
yeah.
All right.
Because if one of you sent me a recording of something and said, "Hey, this doesn't sound right. What am I doing wrong, or what can I do different?" The first answer out of my mouth is not going to be, "Well, tone is in the fingers."
Yeah, no, because I don't,
It's not
you,
helpful. Like this guy said, it's not helpful.
Yep.
and we know each other and we're friends, so why would we offer up information that's obviously not
Right.
actual information,
Right.
But to these, anonymous people, it's like, well, whatever, I'm never going to see him again, so it's like, whatever. So whatever I say doesn't really matter. Whereas if you ask your buddy that and they say that, you're like, what? What are you
Yeah.
saying right
And
now?
I used to have a side hustle helping people find equipment to get the tone that was in their head into their ears.
Hmm.
And I don't want to say I was really good at it, but I had repeat customers, you know, and sometimes it was as simple as they tell me what they're trying to accomplish. And I would say, you know, uh, put a different mic on the cabinet. And sometimes it's not about necessarily matching the tone that's in your head. It's
Mhm.
about getting close enough, and B, just getting something different
Hmm.
that you didn't realize you were going to like until you heard it.
Yeah, and just getting a vibe,
Yeah.
You might
So
discover a sound that you weren't like hoping to come across, but then you're like, ooh, that's
exactly.
something there,
All right.
And also
So
like there's multiple solutions to
yeah,
any given problem. Like my tone doesn't sound thick enough, it's not beefy enough. There's 1,000 things you could do to fix that.
yeah.
It could
So
be the amp, it could be the guitar, it could be the
yeah.
cab, it could be whatever.
If somebody asked you that question, what's the first thing you would ask them back to be able to formulate an answer? Would you say, "Have you thought about your fingers?"
Yeah, no.
No.
So
Put on a
what would
couple
you
pounds, your
actually
tone will
say?
sound heavier.
Do
I
what?
mean, people are like, yeah, no, because I think the first thing I would go to would be, well, what kind of part are you tracking? Are you tracking like some distort? Are you tracking something clean? And then I'd be like, okay, whatever you're tracking, make sure your pickup selector is in the right place, for what you want. Get it right at the source, and then go into your amp settings and be like, okay, so what's the issue here? If you're still having it, you know,
Yeah.
if you're
Maybe
Yeah, I
still
ask,
would.
having it, then we get
what's the
I
into it.
would.
tone that you're hearing in your head, right? What are you
Yeah.
trying to emulate
Yeah.
or duplicate?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Are you trying to, like, if you're looking for a fatter tone, which is purely subjective, what pickups are in your guitar?
Yeah.
Are you playing single coils? Try a P90. Are you
Yeah.
playing P90s? Try a humbucker. That's
Or the sweet spot, the mini home.
yeah, or the mini. Yeah, that's good advice, right? There's lots of different things you could do. I was watching a video the other night where a guy put some nails on the bottom of a pickup,
Hmm.
and it completely changed the sound of the pickup. Nails,
Yeah,
like
because
roofing
it's
nails.
just a magnet.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So there's lots of ways to change your tone.
yeah,
And this dude, I think this dude is right on the money. I mean, we're kind of giving him a hard time about it, but telling people tone is in the fingers is absolutely not helpful.
Well, we should
it
stop doing it.
yeah. It may be partially true in some regards, maybe.
Right.
I don't think tone is in the fingers. I think, style is in the fingers. I
Yeah.
think, you
Tone is
know,
completely subjective.
yeah, you can have a great tone. If you're a terrible player, your vibrato is going to sound crap no matter what you do. You know what I mean? So I think, your technique and your style and your personality might be in the fingers, but tone has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So let's just resolve. We're not going to say that to anybody.
We're not going to say that to
No
anybody.
more.
No
No more.
more.
No
Tony's
more.
in the butt. Final answer.
All right.
Tone is
All right. Ready?
if you're not farting, you don't have tone.
Guitar slump. The thrill is gone.
The
Here, see what he
thrill
did
is
there?
gone.
See what they did there? Shout
Yes, I
out to
did.
Yeah,
BB
it sounds
King.
like a
I've
sequel.
I've been playing guitar since I was 12, now 44. Quick do the math, 32 years.
That's a good stretch.
Started a band during COVID with friends.
Uh-oh.
Initially fun, but now struggling to write original music. Every
Yeah.
riff sounds the same, and I'm losing motivation.
Mm.
Any tips
Mm.
on breaking this creative slump?
So many.
Well, let's hear one because I got some ideas. Maybe you'll hit
Yeah.
them.
Let's go back and forth, you know.
Sure.
Um, First thing I would say is start with a different instrument. You
That's a
know, if
great
you're like
idea.
if you're good the guitar player, don't start it with like, the lo-fi guitar intro and then the band comes in. Don't do that. Let the drummer be like, cool, drum groove first and then bass comes in, then you come in,
Yeah.
or bass riff first or piano first. Just someone else start and then you vibe off of them. That way, whatever you write will feel a little bit different because it's not just coming out of your brain.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, to kind of jump on that, instead of trying to write your next song on the guitar,
Mhm.
pick up a bass and try to write it on that.
Yeah, even if you suck at it,
Yeah.
because you might not be comfortable on it, but that's kind of the thrill, you know?
Yeah.
If you're in that slump where you're like, everything sounds the same, no matter what I play on here, it all sounds the same. Well, that you might be a little too comfortable,
Yeah,
you know? You
exactly.
might not have learned a new thing, recently enough.
That's a good
Pick up a
insight.
bass, say I've never played bass before. You're gonna suck at it. You might make a cool sound though,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I was going to say, introduce yourself to drop D.
Yeah,
'Cause then
different
you
tuning.
literally can't play the same as you would normally with a
Hmm.
standard tuning. So you're not going to write the exact same riffs because that's just not going to come out that way,
Yeah,
I do
or
like
and
the
extend that to
alternate.
any kind of, yeah, some
Yeah,
alternate tuning of some sort. Put a capo on your guitar and see what
yeah.
happens.
I like that.
I just started I found like what I want to be like my new standard tuning.
Uh-huh.
Um, I did that because of a similar issue. I'll show you. It's the same. I got it on the Jazz. But the issue I was having was I was playing chords and I would try to do like open chords and I would run into this pesky G chord. So it'd be like, but I fixed it. So it's just standard tuning with my G down to an F sharp. It's
There you
just that
go.
one different note, and now
Now you can get that sound that
you can
you
get that
hear
sound
in
you
your
want.
head out
So
on the instrument.
if you're not getting the right notes, just tune your guitar differently, you
Um,
know?
Yeah.
Here's
Or
some
turn off the
advice.
distortion, play clean,
Yeah.
try a clean thing. Or vice versa. If you mostly play clean, kick on a pedal.
If you have the
Um,
money for it.
Yeah.
I
Or just for free, switch your guitar pickups, you
two
know?
two things that I've heard about breaking creative slumps. One is take a break.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Um, and so I don't know how long of a break should be, but I would say at least a couple of days. Take it some time off the instrument, put it
Yeah.
down, stop pressuring yourself because that pressure is just adding to the anxiety and it's kind of like creating this circle. The other advice that I got, and Forrest, you may have given this to me as well as I know I've heard it a couple times. Listen to a different style of music than you normally do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Take
Something
inspiration somewhere else.
drastically different. I'm not saying
Yeah.
like, oh, I usually listen to rock and now I'm going to listen to metal. I'm talking like classical, opera, something vastly world music, something just
Yeah.
vastly different. Even if you don't think you're going to like it because you'll hear things you would not normally hear, be it scales or rhythms or dynamics, and that
Yeah.
you could hear
Textures. Yeah.
something, yeah, you could hear something that leads to your next song.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a groove or a time signature, because the
Hmm.
Western 4/4 does not exist. That is not universal
No.
on across the world, and neither is our tuning system either. So that's a great idea, by the way, taking a break. I was just in Arizona for 10 days, um, and I didn't bring any of my guitars with me. Um, did I start getting the feeling where I missed playing, and did we stop at a Sam Ash while I was there so I could pick up a guitar? Yes. But it did not feel like I was at home. I didn't have that
Yeah.
pressure. Um, and when I got back from my trip, I was jet lagged and tired and I couldn't sleep, but I knocked out a song in 2 hours at like 2 in the morning that I just had in there,
Yeah,
and I
because
don't
you
usually
had a
do that.
break.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just take a break. And I was feeling that too. I was feeling like, man, everything I'm writing this past month is like the same stuff. And
yeah,
I went home, I picked up a different guitar than the one I usually go to. It's in a different tuning, and I was like, this is cool. And then I did that. And that can happen to anybody, you know? Just
yeah.
take a
And
little break.
I would also say don't beat yourself up if every riff sounds the same. And there's two words that I have to prove that to you: AC/DC.
Yeah.
I mean, all of their albums sound the same, and nobody cares because it's AC/DC and they're awesome.
And the sound is good. If you find a sound that's good,
Yeah,
then it's good,
lean
you know?
into it.
Yeah, maybe. You know?
All right.
That's how a lot of underground like punk stuff is.
Yeah.
Just power chords on power chords on power chords real
Yeah, the
fast, you
Ramones,
know?
there's another great, the Ramones were not, I don't think the Ramones worried about all their songs sounding the same because that wasn't the point of their music,
Right.
where a band like Dream Theater might be concerned if all of their songs sounded the
Yeah.
same
Not
because,
these days.
well, I know
Well,
I
yeah.
said that on purpose because I know it's a trigger for you.
Oh, so stupid.
But the Rolling Stones, man, a lot of their songs sound fairly similar.
Yeah.
Some of them don't, of course, but a lot of that is because Keith Richards writes songs the way Keith Richards writes songs,
Right.
and you know when he wrote the song.
Yeah. Let somebody else do the writing also if you're like the guy that
Yeah,
does the writing. Because the thing is, you're going to bring a riff in, and if all of your riffs sound the same, right, then everything that everybody else is playing to like fit what you're doing is also going to sound the same because
right.
they're trying to, you have a guitar riff that sounds like the last one you did. Your drummer's going to play the same thing you did last time because it works, you know.
Yep.
But let the drummer start, he's got
Yeah,
to play
Oh,
change things
something.
up a little
careful.
bit.
Listen, do not start giving the drummers any sort of power like that.
Well, often the drummers are the most talented ones in the band, just saying.
Mm,
Um, and just let someone else do it. Honestly, if you're
I
fed
like
up
that.
with your writing.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
All right. All right. I have a technical question for you, Wes.
Oh, not me, because I'm stupid.
Okay, hit me. I'm ready.
Someone read into that comment I just made. No, not because you're stupid, because you're ignorant. All right, Wes, why do so many electric guitars have a middle seam? In case you're wondering, I'm talking about the line running down the back of it. You know, is it a common stylistic choice to have a visible line between the two pieces of wood that make up the top or back of a guitar body? Also, is it genuinely challenging to find a single wide piece of wood for this purpose?
So I will answer the second question first. Is it genuinely challenging to find single piece of wood wide enough to make a guitar body? And the answer is yes. So making guitar bodies out of two or three or even more pieces of wood is it's an economic choice and it's a supply choice because the wood that we use to build guitars comes from trees, and not all trees are huge when they get cut down or fall down or whatever, however they're harvested
Hmm.
for their use. Sometimes they're narrower pieces and you got to glue two or three of them together.
And
There's
then they're usually going to be covered in an opaque finish, so you can't see that the top of your guitar or your guitar body is made of like 4 or 5 pieces of wood glued together.
yeah, and ideally, um, I don't think there's a tonal difference between a one piece body and a three-piece body. You might hear
People
something
will argue anything.
people will argue exactly. People will argue anything. But from the standpoint of what I know about the guitar makers that I've talked to, it is almost exclusively an economic choice
Yeah.
because building a guitar body out of one piece of wood is way more expensive than
Yeah.
building it out of two.
So, but he's talking about like a book, like if you think of a Paul Reed Smith with the top where it's book matched and
Well,
it's got one
yeah,
seam, that's
that's
because
part of the appeal
they
too.
took one piece of wood and they cut it
Yeah.
lengthwise and
Yeah,
opened it like a book, hence book
yeah.
matched.
Yeah, that's part of the style for those. Gibson does that a lot with their Les Pauls and their
Hmm.
higher ends.
Hmm.
You'll see that on acoustic guitars, but a lot of acoustic guitars and high-end acoustic guitars will have a three-piece back.
Right, right.
You take an acoustic guitar can be 16 or 18 inches wide, and at the bottom bout, the upper bout may only be, you know, 80% of that. That's a lot of wood waste. But if you cut multiple pieces and glue them together, as long as they're glued together right, there's no difference in performance. I think I think one piece bodies might look pretty cool, but I also love a book match top,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It looks like a violin. That's what Paul Reed Smith wanted his guitar to look like. He wanted it to look
Yeah.
like the top of a violin, and violins were book match tops. So
And that was probably expediency because it was probably just expediency,
yeah.
you
Okay.
know. But yeah,
Uh,
I mean, yeah, single guitars with tops or bodies that are one piece are going to be more expensive
yeah,
in general.
yeah. All right. Here's a short but sweet one. Is an Amazon guitar worth it? Didn't know there was such a thing. That's an aside from me. His question goes on, or her question, or their question. Let's not gender the question, shall we? Should I get a well-known brand like Squire or Harley Benton, or should I get a cheap Amazon guitar and give it a fret job and setup? So wait, Squire and Harley Benton aren't the cheap
Yeah,
options
why is
now?
that what you went to? I'm confused on why of all the guitar brands you went to
This person's
not
budget
Fender, but
is
Squire
this
and
person's
Harley
budget is
Benton.
$39.99, Wes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I
if you buy a
I
Squire or Harley Benton, you're giving it a fret job and setup. I'm what?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Uh, I yeah, there's like some guitars that are bang for your buck and that's all great, but you at the end of the day, you get what you pay for,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. If
And you
Corner.
you have to wonder like if I'm spending $70 on a guitar, what corners are being cut,
yeah,
And are those corners that are being cut things that I can do on my own, like a fret level or whatever? Or is
yeah.
it something that like, oh, the electronics here are like not they're trash?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, one of my concerns when I look at super cheap instruments is what are they paying the people that are making them? Because I
Hmm.
know roughly what it costs for the parts that go into a guitar.
Yeah.
And for most of the guitars that I buy, the labor is the bigger cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know what it takes to build a guitar. And even if you can CNC automate a bunch of those things, you still got to have hands on the guitar to finish it up.
Yeah.
And
That's a
you
good
can't
point.
do it in 10 minutes.
No.
So my concern when you start getting down into those like sub $200 guitars is, are they being built in sweatshops? Are they
Yeah.
being built using exploitative labor? And I couldn't live with myself if I found out I was supporting something like that. I would be crushed.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
I think anything beyond a Squire or Harley Benton, you're running that risk.
I think probably with a Harley Benton, you're running that risk,
Mm,
Yeah.
to be
That's what I was
perfectly
gonna say.
honest.
yeah.
Yeah, it might be.
All
Um,
right. Well,
yeah.
But to answer this person's question directly, save up for the Squire. Get
Yeah.
the Squire, and
I have
because yeah, you're gonna have to do a fret job on it anyways.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I have a Squire. I didn't need to do nothing to it, you know. I can pretty much guarantee that anything below that price range, you will need to do something to it, which is going to cost time and potentially, money if you don't have the right products anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and by
if
the
you
way,
don't already have all that,
this person's assuming that they're only going to need to do a fret job and setup.
yeah, you might need to do so many other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one. Wes, I'm not even going to read the whole question. I'm just going to get your reaction. And Forrest, I want to get your reaction. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the headline. Should I buy another pedal?
Yes.
All right. Next.
No,
Wait. There's
stop.
dissenting opinions. Now we have to discuss. I recently purchased an overdrive pedal and loved it so much that I'm considering buying another one. What, the same one? Um, as a complete beginner, I'm unsure if it's worth it and if it will be useful. Any thoughts on whether I should go for it?
Well, now that's a little different. Having as a counseling a beginner, start with one of each. Like if you like the overdrive pedal that you got, and this person says they loved it, stick with that. Don't get a different one because then you're just going to start doubting your ears.
Yep.
Get a chorus pedal or a phaser or something and have a little bit of fun
Mhm.
with your extra pedals.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of I
Or
practice what I preach here because I have way, way, way too many pedals. I made the mistake last week of making a list of the pedals that I have.
uh-oh.
And yeah, that was not something I should have done.
Yeah, no, you couldn't look at yourself the same way afterwards.
No, no.
No.
Let's say, should I buy another
Or
pedal?
just get a VST. They're way cheaper.
Oh,
They take up less space.
all right. Next
I've never
question.
owned a pedal in my life.
Now you own multiple pedals because those VSTs have pedals in them.
Yeah, I'm saying a physical pedal. No,
Oh,
I've never owned one.
nope, that is a fact. Okay, next question. How to
Next.
overcome insecurity? Well, that sounds like a question for your therapist.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know if we
that's what I
can
was just to
provide
say.
that.
Get therapy.
Like insecurity about like what, like your looks, I can't
Uh,
help you.
I've been playing professionally in a touring band for about 6 years now. Let me repeat that. I've been playing professionally in a touring band for about 6 years now. Despite improving my skills, I still struggle with feeling insecure on stage, re therapy. My performances often come across as stiff and nervous. Any tips on overcoming this insecurity and enjoying performing more?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the three of us are going to say, yeah, get some therapy, because there are a lot of therapeutic techniques that can help you deal with insecurity. You may
Yeah.
need medicated, to be perfectly honest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, but
And we don't mean to diagnose you. We don't know
no, yeah, of course
if you
not.
have anything or what it is.
Go see a professional and
Yeah.
talk to them about it.
And
But from an anecdotal point of view, like I, I got all sorts of things, right?
Hmm.
Number one, remember you made it. You're playing
Yeah.
professionally in a touring band. You've been doing it for 6 years. You clearly don't suck.
Right.
yeah, I was going
So
to ask him who's telling him he's stiff and nervous. Maybe it's his inner demons, like his inner
yeah,
critic telling him that. But maybe if he were watching himself, like maybe have someone video and send it to them and say, what would you do
Yeah.
differently? Maybe they can literally give him advice. But if
yeah.
he's just if this is just his inner critic, I still go back to therapy.
And and if someone else said that to you and it's not you saying that, then they're kind of an a-hole for not also offering you advice on how to fix it.
Yeah,
Right.
You know,
exactly.
Give
if they're
me
just
some
Exactly.
pointing out, wow,
actionable
that was stiff
feedback.
and uncomfortable looking, then, you know,
But and there's other things you can do, right? So
Meditate.
maybe yeah, meditate, take a nap, have a beer, a gummy, right? I'm not advocating medicating yourself to the point of obliteration. Don't get liquored up, don't get stoned completely to the gills. But maybe there's some value in kind of taking the edge off with chemicals sometimes for some people. I'm just saying I know what I used to do I had terrible, terrible stage fright when I first started playing in my first band,
Mhm.
to the point where I could not play a lead. I could not play a solo in front of people.
Mhm.
I could do just fine at band practice, no problem.
Mhm.
Get in front of an audience, and I
Nightmare.
would just lock up.
Yep,
I
that was
could
me.
not do it.
Yep.
So what the other guitar player in my band suggested I do, because he was getting tired of having to cover my parts, right? Because now he had to learn all the solos instead of us splitting them up, which was the deal. We were supposed to split them up. So what he suggested I do is turn around and face away from the audience.
Oh,
Is he
interesting.
said he actually he read a book about Jim Morrison, and apparently Jim Morrison had to do this when he first started performing with the Doors.
Yeah,
He had
yeah.
to face the band instead of the audience.
Mhm.
And so I tried it one night. We were playing at a dance, and I turned around and I played my solo to the drummer, and I nailed it. And so I'll be honest, for the next couple of years, I played my solos to the drummers,
Hmm.
and then I I gradually was more comfortable with it and was able to, just play from the front of the stage like I'm supposed to.
So,
But it took a long time, and I just had to get comfortable with it, and it took time. Stage
yeah,
fright is a real thing.
yeah. I mean, again, this person, he, she, they. Um, Although I read the question, the full question does mention he and his wife. So anyway,
Okay.
all right. This person is in a professional touring band and has been for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I would say with that level of experience, any like traditional stage fright would have worked its way out by now. I think there's something deeper going on.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
therapist would help discuss, what those fears might be and what those feelings are and all that stuff. But I honestly do not remember my personal journey to get over my stage fright. I do remember that when I first started playing in a band and we started playing live and I was very young, I also, like you, Wes, had that crippling stage fright. But to get over it, I, for some reason, automatically decided I was going to like face um, the side of the stage where I was playing. So if I was on, from your point of view, if I was on the right, I would face the right side of the stage. So I was facing off stage and I was playing to nobody. There's no one there. No one could see what I was doing. And it looked really weird. And I remember someone videotaping us on a, you know, handheld video camera because
Because that used to
80s.
be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember seeing myself play that entire show from the side. And I thought, that looks ridiculous. I gotta stop doing that. And that sort of broke me. Like
Yeah.
it just never happened again. Now, I'm not saying that my stage fright was over, but that certainly broke that. Like I just could not do that. And I guess like over time, the more I did it and the more confident I got in my playing, the more or the less I really thought about it. Um,
Yeah.
so, but it didn't take 6 years. So I'm saying whatever this person's dealing with, it sounds like there may be deeper things to discuss.
Yeah.
So
And you can do therapy online. You can do therapy on the road,
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's no, I think, especially in 2024, any stigma that we used to have, especially the younger you are, those stigmas about getting help for your mental health are much less than they used to be.
Mhm.
There's
Absolutely.
no, I don't see any shame in getting help when you need help.
No,
If your AC unit goes out, you call a professional. Well, your brain needs help sometimes too, so call a professional.
yeah, I have a whole thing about mental health in this country, and we're going to get off on a tangent, but what you said is accurate. The stigmas are being reduced because we're talking about it more. I would like to thank the younger generation and COVID for for that, because I think both of them combined have made a difference in reducing those stigmas. And
Yeah.
And I look at it like this: your car needs maintenance. You take it for an oil change. You, we're people. We have things. Everyone has baggage. Just it's maintenance. There's nothing shameful about that.
Yeah, nothing at
Yeah.
all.
And I haven't played live nearly as much as you two, but I did used to do like school band stuff, and I was really
Hmm.
afraid.
Yeah.
And I would ask my teacher if I could be like, can I be like in the back and have the horns up front, and all that, and they'd be like, no. I'm like, damn it. Um, so what
So
what I
super
would
helpful.
do, yeah, and well, eventually I got over it because of my ego and my vainness. And I just I decided that I was better. Um, at what I was doing than a lot of the other people in that room might be.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know
So why
what?
shouldn't everybody see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I was like, I'm up here, I'm doing it, Like I'm having fun. I'm playing louder than you can yell, that I suck.
you're bringing back some really nice memories for your mom and I. We used to watch you play in school bands, and you used to get dressed up nice, and you really wanted to, which was fun. And you had this nervous energy, and you were excited about it. And I remember that very fondly. And I remember watching you when you were in the pit,
Yeah.
not the mosh pit, the orchestra pit, playing, and you were just you had this fun, nervous energy about you, like you were smiling and you were like moving around, and it was just fun to watch you. And other kids were
Mhm.
not, they were not like that. So I don't know.
No, they weren't
Yeah.
I
having
just really
fun.
enjoyed it. No,
No, their mom signed them up.
yep,
I was
exactly.
always jealous of orchestra and band kids because they got to look at a music stand,
Yeah.
and like I didn't need to look at the music, but having something to look at besides other people
Yeah.
would have helped me a lot,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
it was looking up and
Yeah.
seeing people looking at me that freaked me out.
Yeah.
dude.
And also there's a
So
bunch of them, so if you like mess up, the audience doesn't know which one of the four
no.
That's
trombone
true.
players it was.
You just reminded me a great tip for getting over stage fright. This came from um, actors. So actors also have stage fright, and
Yeah.
they have to look out at the crowd just like musicians do. But
Mhm.
an actor, a local actor, told me, don't look at the crowd, look over them, look at the
Yeah.
back of the
Yep.
room. You'll look like you're looking at the crowd, but you're really looking at a poster or the bar or something. It'll look like you're looking at the crowd, and no one will know the
Hmm.
difference, and it'll really help. And that
Yep.
actually really was a huge help for me.
Start
Cool.
smiling at the sound guy.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. Next question.
Yeah,
Forrest,
maybe he
this is
thinks
for
you're
you,
cute.
clearly. Forrest, this one's
That's
for
how I met
you.
my mother.
I'm changing pickups and I connected the same color wires, but I'm getting no sound. Can you fix it? Ready? I'm a total newbie here, assumed. I've got an Ibanez Iceman with 2 volume pots and 1 tone pot. I
Cool.
wanted to upgrade the bridge pickup to a DiMarzio Super Distortion, a wise
Cool.
choice. I tried matching the wire colors, but got no sound. Even joined the black and white cables from the new pickup to the guitar's wires, still no
That's
luck.
wrong. That's wrong.
I
Yeah.
couldn't find a wiring diagram on DiMarzio's website for my setup.
Really?
Okay. Number one, Google.
Yeah, they have one.
Yeah, they have one. And on DiMarzio humbuckers, the red is the hot and the
Yeah.
green is the ground. Black
Hmm.
and white are the ones that you use if you're going to coil tap or, you know, change phase or something like that. So that's why
Oh,
it's
I
not
didn't know
working.
that.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah, I didn't know
DiMarzio.
about the
Yeah,
black and white.
all DiMarzio pickups have the same color leads, so
Oh,
you can put them together.
But right,
oh, that's
what
cool.
what this person's saying is they replaced just the bridge pickup and
Right.
they tried connecting the same colored wires, and that's the problem. The stock pickup probably didn't have the same color scheme
Yeah.
Yeah.
as the DiMarzio. That's
Yeah.
most likely the case, right? You
You
just
Yep.
can't
gotta.
go, oh,
Absolutely.
black was
Hmm.
here, so black goes there again.
Yeah.
No.
No. No. No. Oh, and by
Yeah.
the way, I've never replaced pickups, but yeah, that doesn't sound quite. Yeah, you would need to know like what brand is your, neck pickup or your middle pickup or whatever. And yeah, they're definitely not using the same color scheme.
Most
Yeah.
likely,
Well,
no.
and
No.
and I would say, and I'm not trying to shout anybody down. It doesn't matter what the other pickup is,
No.
because hooking up the black and the white wires from the DiMarzio is not going to work. Period. End of story. It's never going to work.
Nope.
So what you do in this case is you connect the red to the same place to the lug of the one volume pot, and then you connect the green and the bare to ground. You connect the white and the black together and tape them off so that they don't short out against something.
Mhm.
And then when you put the guitar in so that both pickups are on, if it sounds shitty, that means they're out of phase. You reverse the red and the green wire, and it should be in phase because there's only two phase. Guitar picks are either in phase or they're out of phase. End of story.
Yeah,
It's
and
it's that simple. And in this situation with two volume pots, each pickup goes to its own pot.
right.
So all you have to do is all you have to do is put the green wire from the DiMarzio back in the place where you unsoldered the lug of the volume pot for that pickup.
It's funny you're talking about in and out of phase with the Brian May behind you.
Yeah, with the
Eh,
phase switches.
So my advice would have been stop altogether and take it to a tech.
Yeah,
Yeah,
If you're that new that you don't know that the same colored wires are not going to produce what you want, you're probably not.
yeah,
And the truth is that guitar wiring is, either though it's easy and learning it is a core skill, doing it blind like this is probably not a great idea just
yeah,
because it's going to be frustrating. And absolutely should be using a wiring diagram. And although you may not be able to find one for an Iceman, it's basically a Les Paul with one less tone pot.
yeah. And I don't know where this person's getting their DiMarzio pickups, but the last DiMarzio pickups I bought, each one of them had a piece of paper in the box with the pickup that said how to
yeah.
wire it up.
That is also true. Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
possible they bought a used pickup or got it off,
Oh,
eBay
yeah.
or Reverb or
Possible.
something.
Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
yeah,
We are going to
lots.
go through these next three in rapid fire.
Okay,
No context, just the question. Ready?
okay. I'm ready.
Did you ever buy a guitar, a quality guitar you ended up hating? Wes,
Yeah, absolutely.
Forrest,
Um, no,
Ooh.
no.
Wes, what was the quality guitar you ended up hating?
Remember last time when we talked about the frets on my Made in Japan Jazzmaster?
Yes, I
That's
do.
the most recent example. Now, I don't hate it now because I figured out what was going wrong. But I have bought quality guitars that I didn't like enough to keep and turned right around and sold them.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's happened. I've done that with PRS guitars, and I don't think anybody would deny that those are quality guitars.
Uh, yes, that has happened to me too with that same brand. Question. Do you ever feel like you're killing the magic of a song when you're learning it? Wes,
Maybe demystifying, but killing, no.
Forrest.
Um, no, you're actually just exploring more of the magic when you learn it.
Ooh, expound, please.
Well, um, I get a lot of enjoyment out of just having an accumulation of knowledge about a thing. Um,
I could vouch for
but
that.
yeah, and the majority of at least new guitar um releases have, several layers of guitar.
Yeah,
And if there's like, tabs or sheet music or otherwise that are like, here are all the layers, and then you learn each individual layer and then it comes together to make that, you're like, oh wow, that's really cool. Getting rid of the magic, I don't know. I just think I like listening to songs that have like bits removed from them, so I can hear like what might be going on in the background, what, the random ear candy they might have put in. I like knowing that stuff.
Hmm.
I like kind of demystifying things, but I feel like that's personal preference.
yeah.
So, Wes and Forrest, but based on both your answers, you say there really is no band or song that you're where you're of the mindset, I'm not going to learn that because I don't want to kill the magic. I'm just going to
Nope,
enjoy it for what it is. Learning it doesn't do that for you.
nope.
Okay.
No.
Learning songs makes me almost enjoy them more
Yep.
because in my head I can picture what those guitar players are doing, and I I kind of get a little kick out of knowing what's going on.
Yeah. No, me too. I like a song more after I do my thing where I like listen to the like soloed stems of things
Yeah,
because then I can hear them better in the song because my brain is like they're in there, so now I can hear them
exactly.
better.
Side question
Yeah.
on the spot. Are there songs that you like a lot, even, but that you have zero desire to learn how to play?
Dream Theater.
Hotel California.
Okay, I love it. All right. Last question. Will I learn the guitar faster if I practice for 12 hours a day every day?
Hmm. I got to go with it depends, right? Because you can practice 12 hours a day and not get any better because you're not practicing efficiently or effectively.
Uh-huh.
If you practice properly for 12 hours a day, yeah, you're going to learn the guitar pretty
But
quick.
you can't there's no how on earth could you practice like efficiently like you're locked in? How
You
could you be
couldn't.
locked in for 12
See,
hours?
that's where I was going. I'm actually
Yeah, you
going at
couldn't.
some point you hit a point that you hit actually like you don't. I
I
think
think it starts going the opposite way.
I almost agree with that. I
Yeah.
do. I
Oh, I
yeah.
do. I'm just taking the question at face value. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm trying. Let me think. What's the most I ever played in one day? I used to practice. I played in a band once where we played 2 or 3 sets as a headliner bar band. So mix of originals and covers, probably 50-50. And there were times, so that's basically 3 50-minute sets. So a little less than 3 hours of music. And a
We'll call
lot
it
of
3 hours for the
times,
practice.
yeah, and a lot of times I would practice the set at home,
Hmm.
pack up my gear and go play the sets at the show.
Mhm.
So that would be close to 6 hours of playing in one day,
Right.
but only some of it was practice because
Hmm.
mostly it was just review.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wes,
I
you
mean,
said something earlier that I actually have heard a lot of, maybe I shouldn't say a lot, quite a few professionals offer contrary opinion on, and that was if you're playing, you're practicing. You
yeah,
were you said that earlier, and I didn't say anything in the moment because I agree with I feel like I'm with you that if you're playing, even if you're noodling, you're that has to me a positive
yeah,
impact.
it has value.
But
I mean, but like you got to play it, like if you're playing songs, you got to play them correctly. That's the reinforcement.
yeah,
That's the practice aspect.
but I
If you play the riff from Enter Sandman wrong,
Hmm.
but you play it 1,000 times, you're still playing it wrong. You're
yeah.
not practicing effectively because you're reinforcing a bad outcome.
Now
Hmm.
what I had always heard, and I think even as um when I was watching many years ago the John Petrucci instructional video, may have been that, may have been a different one, different instructional video, but the general consensus was that noodling is not practicing. That practice involves repetition, and practice involves metronome, and practice involves, either learning scales or learning a technique, and it's like structured and this and that. And that's a lot of reason why I think a lot of people don't practice.
I think that's why people quit playing an instrument
I
Yeah.
don't
is because
disagree.
some teacher says, if you're not using your metronome, you're not practicing. And I'm like, I got 2 words for you, and one of them starts with F.
Yeah, I just don't. And that's why I didn't say anything when you said it, because I agree with you, but I wanted to loop back on this because we're
Yeah,
talking about this practice 12 hours a day question, which is kind of cute. I agree with you, but I also know there's a lot of players out there A lot of them are professional, a lot of them are amateurs, a lot of them are nobodies, to have this opinion that if you're not doing structured practice, timed structured practice, or using a metronome, using, practicing scales and learning chords and all this stuff, like that's noodling isn't practice.
Yeah.
Learning songs isn't practice. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, is that really true? I don't know if that's true. Like, why do we have to label things? Like, can't we all just get along? I don't.
Yeah.
I
What I
just,
prescribe to my students is a mix of both. I say, for like a beginner, I say like, see, if they're in school and stuff and they got other stuff going on, I'm like, see if you can get the guitar in your hands for like a serious practice for an hour a day, just an hour. And you can pick up the guitar and not practice whenever else you want, but try to get an hour of like structured practice in. But secretly, I know that anytime they are picking up the guitar, they're getting experience. It is practice, you
yeah.
know? And when I bring them in, so that we don't have the issue of reinforcing bad habits, is I bring them in. Next time I say, okay, what did you practice? And then I say, what did you play for fun? And then I see if those just for fun habits are leaking into the practice. And if they are, I separate them.
Yeah. That's
And
a good approach.
I say, go to learn a song.
Yeah.
That's how song isn't practice. I don't know, like, why people say that because that's how I learned all of my techniques was I don't know how to tap. So I found songs that I liked that had tapping and now I can
And
tap.
yeah,
I
and
never
learn how to play the
practiced
songs. Yeah,
tapping.
Yep.
exactly.
I never
Yep.
really practiced doing, like scales with tapping or anything, but I can tap now. And all I did was practice songs.
Yeah. I think I'm in that camp. I'm with that camp. Playing is practice. Okay, so if you're again, we go back to if you're a professional and it's expected of you to know a lot of different scales and
Hmm.
chords and read charts, then I think you have a different goal in mind. That sure, you have to practice those things. But for just the rest of us who just want to enjoy it, can just take it easy on each other,
Yeah.
give each other some grace, and
Yeah.
let's not worry about that stuff.
All I ever learn is problem solving stuff. I think that's what a lot of people should focus on more
Yeah.
if they need like if you're struggling, um, to write in a specific genre or to cover a song or something like that, and what you're practicing has nothing to do with that, then you're not going to get there. That's why I think like it's all problem solving. Practicing what you need to practice rather than just going up scales up and down is a lot more helpful, especially when you're like like an intermediate musician where you're like past the beginner stage and now you're starting to think about what kind of music do I want to make, what do I want my sound to be? If you're establishing that, then practice, what is actually helpful to you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Well, we're out of
I
questions. We did it.
I
We
used to
did it.
say a similar thing to my students, only I was telling them, you need 15 minutes of dedicated structured practice
Hmm.
because I probably had a dimmer view of my students actually doing it than you do.
Well, it depends on the student. The one I'm teaching
Yeah.
right now, like he loves it. So if I tell him to go practice for an hour, he'll do it. Whereas someone else, I'm like, they're not gonna have that much capacity. I'll be like, all right, just go and do scales for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Good point.
All right. Well, I have to edit out that yawn because I don't want people to think that we're boring each other. All right. We're out of questions.
Does that mean we're done?
Yeah.
Are we?
Well, I hope everybody out there in podcast land has enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I want to know what you think of some of these questions, or if you have questions for us. If you have something that we forgot, please add it in the comments.
Yeah.
If you think we were wrong about something, please be respectful and add that in the comments. If you think we nailed it, we'd love for you to click that little like button. That always is a nice thing. But ask us your questions. One of these days, I
Yeah.
would love to be able to do a whole episode on questions we got from listeners.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, instead
Well,
of not that I don't enjoy the gear page questions and the Reddit questions. This was good. This was
somewhere
good. I
out
like
there,
this.
there's a person named Bruce, and Bruce sent us a question.
He did.
And I
he
know he's
answered
out there listening. And all I can say is, Bruce, could you please send us like 10 or 15 more? We will get to all of them for you.
Yes.
It'll be the What Does Bruce Want to Know episode. All right.
Special guest Bruce.
All right. So before we go, I will remind everyone to go to differentstringspodcast.com, where you can also ask us questions through a little email link. And I want to thank our special guest, Forrest, for being
Yes,
here.
thank you, Forrest, for
Thank
joining
you for
us.
having me. It's been fun.
Yeah. And Wes, once again, are we called Different Strings
Colon.
an guitar adjacent podcast?
Sometimes I feel like saying the word colon, and other days I do not.
Okay, well that's fine. But we are
Sometimes
guitar
it's too early to
adjacent.
just be saying the word colon.
What's up next?